Tuesday here at the Bisimoto facility. Have a vehicle behind me, which is pretty cool, and I want to talk about that and some other cool things going on here at the shop. Working on a crazy all-wheel drive electric hypercar. The team and I are playing around with that and should be having that. My goal is to have it up and properly running by tomorrow, which is crazy. But also back here is a old school EG Civic with a K-Series setup, fully built K20 with about a 64 millimeter billet turbo, full ball bearing, AM Infinity, and a sequential gearbox courtesy of Quaif Engineering. Iceberg Slim 25, hello, thank you so much. Project EH9 Racing, checking in for duty. Thank you so much for joining indeed. Thank you so much, the Overland Watch, for joining here on TikTok. And as always, I have a myriad of interaction here for all of you to explore with me. I have TikTok, Instagram, YouTube Live, and also via this podcasting networks, opportunities for you to listen to us, whether you're driving, using the loo, working out, whatever the case may be, via Spotify. So thank you so much. Yes, you are for Duty Project EH9. I appreciate you indeed. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes, back to this beautiful thing. Hello, R Techmoto, love your name. Greetings to you as well. This vehicle came to us a while back and came with a harness that wasn't so great, a little tattered. Had a not so efficient injection system. So it had these 2200cc injectors, which were not original Bosch ones. So that was really crazy. I could tell because the idle mixture was all over the place and I didn't have the success in getting it to idle properly. And as we flowed them, they were all over the place. So once again, guys, everything that glitters is not gold. If you're buying injectors, always buy it from a reputable source. We love using 5.0 and even the guys from 21 with the Injector Dynamics. Those are the two shops that we go to be able to get our injectors, and we've had nothing but success with those. And the 2200cc injectors, courtesy of 5.0, were put in here as well. The harness that was kind of weird and cut up and soldered was removed. By the way, soldering is bad in engine bay for obvious reasons. You think of the, how should I say, soldering uses heat to be able to create joints. An engine bay can generate a significant amount of heat, which can melt those and cause problems. I remember not too long ago, we had a Supra come here, and that thing had solder joints in the engine bay that connected the interior chassis harness to the outside engine harness, and it was just a mess on the dyno. So we had to take those harnesses out and redo it. Same thing happened here. We went to Rywire, got a proper mil-spec harness for the AM Infinity. We updated the standard 6-speed gearbox that came in here from a K20, the Type S, and put in a fully sequential one as well. And the shifter, as you may see the photo I posted today, has a strain gauge. And what the strain gauge does, I was just talking to Jonathan here about that a couple of days ago, it allows you to use a pressure transducer. It has this pressure sensor inside, and as you push on the shifter, it sends a signal to the ECU based upon voltage input, which is very cognizant or tethered to your pressure of your wrist going into the shifter assembly. If you have the ability to go with a particular voltage forward and voltage backwards, you can program the AM Infinity to look at those voltages as a shifting opportunity and to initiate an ignition retard and an ignition cut to allow you to shift the next gear. So if you're racing, you don't have to use a clutch. All you have to do is push on the lever with confidence, by the way, no granny shifting. You have to like forcefully get into gear in the sequential by pulling backwards to go upwards in the gear. And when you do that, you have a great opportunity to experience a shift cut via the AM EMS and allows the gears to go from one to the other without qualm. And very successfully, done right, with the right amount of ignition cut, which could be anywhere from 75 to 400 milliseconds, depending on the gearbox. You can have an assembly that cuts down your elapsed times while on the track, while also keeping your dogs, because it has a dog engagement for each of the gears from one gear to the other, helps keep it very robust and reliable. John Portia says he's a Bisimoto fan, all the way from Peru. Thank you so much for joining across the pond. Where is the EF hatch, says Nick. If you're talking about my own vehicle, I've never owned an EF hatch. I've owned a CRX, which I ended up racing quite a bit. Then I have the EE wagon, which of course is the wagon. So if you're referring to that, Nick, on TikTok, it is right there in the showroom. And it's something we plan on making a big announcement with that in the next week or two around that particular wagon. And this announcement is really exciting because it allows any of you to be able to own that wagon without much qualms. So it's going to be absolutely fantastic and it's great. Project H9 is now joining on YouTube. This guy is multifaceted. Thank you so much for joining. Someday, BC will do a high voltage junction box walkthrough for on a build. Corvo, that's a good idea. Maybe I should do that. And Corvo, we have so much to talk about. We have an amazing opportunity with electric vehicles that continues to really push the envelope in terms of performance and excitement. We're seeing even for commuter cars, EVs are getting more and more cost effective, which is great for many of us, right? So that's good. Old school fan, Irwindale, says Tony R. Furman says, tune my G23. Give us a call here at the shop and we can get you in within all the crazy projects we have here. Right now, our focus is really the EP9 Neo. We need to get that going like post-haste. So we're gonna be doing quite a bit of that, but after a week or so, we should be able to get back into these cars. I own a 990 Tegra and it's still a B series, says Ezeus1806 on TikTok. I'm not surprised. That is considered the small block Chevy of the Honda world. So keep at it. The aftermarket support is amazing and absolutely fantastic, you know? BC, you were in Super Street back in the day. What did you do? What did your first shoot mean to you? Says Gully. Since I can remember, this was as far back as my first shoot was with Jonathan Wong, ICRX, and if memory serves me correctly, it was probably in 1997. And that thing was amazing. I was so honored and excited to get a magazine. As you can imagine, it's every builder racer's dream to be in the press. Nowadays, it's a dream for us all to get a Hot Wheels or to do some other crazy things online. But yeah, back then it was such a great feeling. So thank you for that question. It was really good. And very humbling as well. Phil Street said, love that car. Thank you so much. Appreciate you indeed. And back to this. So I talked about the harness. I talked about the gearbox. The clutch was upgraded to a standard from some kind of weird single diaphragm to a dual diaphragm setup with also a twin disc application. Runs on E85, which is great. The turbo I had before was an aftermarket, almost looked like it was a T4 footprint. And the strange thing about this particular vehicle is that T4 footprint had a turbo that wasn't very efficient or very prestigious. It was like an aftermarket no brand turbo. And then above and beyond that, has a four-port solenoid, which allows you to use a soft spring, which allows for low boost threshold, excellent for launching, right? So you want to have low power when launching, so you can hook up when you're drag racing, but then you want the power up top. So this came based upon my calculations and experience on the dyno with a 5-pound spring in the Turbo Smart wastegate, and then using a 4-port, we're able to get it north of 25 PSI, but in that realm, nothing higher, which is amazing, by the way. So it gives us a lot of latitude. Now that particular car, thank you so much, Jorge30730. That being said, this amazing automobile was supposed to have made 800 horsepower. And then when it came in with that old setup, you know, kind of crazy harness, not so great injectors, no name turbo, standard gearbox, I put it on there and it made like almost 600, like 598. And it was really laggy. And I'm like, okay, this must be a leak or something. And we did a leak down with a smoke test and there was no leaks. I'm like, this is a very inefficient system. Plus, the cam control wasn't working very well either. So what did? We got rid of that larger, I think it was a 70mm turbo, went to a billet with a very advanced aerodynamics 67mm turbo. And then the exhaust manifold, which was crazy, was really, really long and uneven. The fuel cell was right behind the turbo manifold, which is a big no-no. You don't want a huge heat source next to a fuel tank. So we moved the fuel tank to underneath the car in the rear. We had the opportunity to shorten up the runners and make them equal length. Then we updated the turbos, put a new harness on it as well, kept the air-to-air intercooler intact, upgraded the gearbox, upgraded the clutch, and then can you believe that not only do we have more horsepower with a smaller turbo than before, but the area under the curve is ridiculous. And yes, Jorge, it does shoot flames during the anti-lag opportunity. The area under the curve is so robust that at 6,000 RPMs, we gained over 400 horsepower at 6,000 RPMs. So even though the horsepower potential is very similar because the wastegate spring, even with a less efficient turbo, gave, you know, within 50 horsepower peak, The air in the curve is night and day. This car is much faster than it is before. And what can we do if we want to extract more power from this? Because we're hovering about 60% duty on the injectors. I have a lot more headway to go with the 2200cc injectors and the larger pump. A bigger spring, a stiffer spring. If we can get that spring up from a 5 PSI to let's say 10, 15 with the same 4-port, we have a 40 PSI potential where this may be happy around 35 or so. We will definitely be at the 800 that this car is supposed to make. So stay tuned for some updates with that. Thank you so much, Action Clutch, for allowing us to play with this particular vehicle for you and trusting your vehicle in the hands of the team and I here at Bisimoto. What's up, Project EH9 Racing? What's going on in the garage, he asks. Right here, we have a corn-fed, when I say corn-fed E85, boosted sequential gearbox, front-wheel drive, sport front-wheel drive vehicle, courtesy of Action Clutch. So we have a lot going on here at the shop. Now that we have tuned this properly, the next step would be for the manager there, Eric. He wants to get some seat timer on this. My advice would be to keep it with this crazy north of 450 torque, 634 horsepower to the wheels. Get some seat time, and then after that, we'll slap in a bigger spring and just go crazy. So that's the plan so far. BC says DJMHWD. Thank you so much for joining. What's up with that game? Auto Legends says J Vihersis. That is a game from the guys from Cartown. It was a very popular Facebook game that happened way in the early inception of Facebook. That whole team did very well with that and came back and did Auto Legends. And that is pretty much a racing game where people like myself and RJ DeVera can guide you in how to really choose the right parts for your vehicle. I think Sun Kang is also part of it as well. It's a pretty cool video game. So if you already have access to it, great, enjoy. If you haven't, go ahead and explore it. It is a blast indeed. What do you think about this? Says Project EH9 Racing. Go ahead and share, and I am down to be able to do that. Something else I'd be remiss to also share with you, if I don't share this information, is around the gearbox here. A quick sequential is quite strong. We had the opportunity to play around with that as far back as 2011 actually, with a Civic Si that we built for American Honda. The sequential gearbox is unlike an H pattern where you just go forward, and back to be able to initiate gear. Not only is it extremely strong and allows us to have a lot of fun with power without having to worry about reliability like a factory one would, it also gives us the unique opportunity to be able to shift quicker. Instead of looking for H pattern and missing gears from here to there, you can just go forward and backward and have a blast. So above and beyond robustness and reliability, it cuts down your elapsed times quite significantly as well. Model Ford F1 first generation, 1948 to 52, assembly USA. You're riding a lot, 108 horsepower. That's a car that I would totally go crazy with. If it's something the 48 to 52 must be very beautiful, but needs a lot more power than what that can provide. So yeah, good project, but I'd go crazy with an LSX or in normal crazy beast of fashion, some ridiculous electric power plant in it as well. Yeah, there are many options you can go with. Whether you want something that's zero emissions and very quiet and ridiculously torquey, or you want something that's robust with a twin turbo LSX that you typically see inside a Corvette and just have fun with a petrol-based vehicle. And that's the beauty of what the team and I do here. You hear them working away on the side. We are very fortunate that if you need petrol setups, we got you. You want to be able to do something EV, we can take care of that as well. The CRZ next, we're going to play around with in a few more days as a hybrid setup, the first hybrid that we did crazy things with American Honda. It's here. So there's so many opportunities to have a blast. And luckily, we have the ability to explore all different types of propulsion without qualm. Race Kyle Wade, says JDM Troy. Is there a reason why? Please do share. I'm open. For those of you asking, there's a team, very popular team known as Boosted Boys. They seem to have this knack of building cars that we built as well, like the Odyssey and Wagon. And since we have some of the cars, people can tend to go race them because I don't know why. But do show me, JDM Troy, what your mindset is. And then if it makes sense, I'll make it happen. Hello, Project EH9 saying hi. Appreciate your gather. Thank you so much for joining. This is about Tech2sday. Thank you. For those of you just joining, like JC, we are talking about this flame shooting, top mount turbo, shooting exhaust through the upper of the hood, billet turbo, E85 fed, 2200cc injected, fully built and sleeved, K-series setup with a sequential gearbox, owned by Action Clutch. And it's been here for a few moments to be able to get some updates. Forgive me for being redundant for those of you who have been here. We upgraded turbo, modified the exhaust manifold for equal length to allow us to have very, very good distribution of fuel and air. We had the opportunity to ceramic coat everything as well to keep the heat where it belongs inside the exhaust manifold to do work on the turbine to give us much efficiency. We also had the opportunity to repair the IV tech that wasn't doing quite well. When we took off the valve cover, we noticed that the IV tech assembly, someone used a vice grip to kind of move the bolts around, so it was really bad, so we updated that. I think one of the cams looked a little flat, so we kind of put a newer camshaft in there. Yes, by the way, this one's stock camshafts. Updated the clutch to a proper action twin disc, and then followed up with a sequential gearbox to boot. So it's absolutely fantastic. Arska91 says, hello, do you still make parts for Honda F-Series Simcam engines? And yes, we do. Right now, if you go into the Bisimoto web store, you'll see everything from intake heat shielding gaskets, pistons, rod combos, clutches, camshafts, valve train, you name it. We love single cam performance. And as you think about it, anyone who does well on this planet with single cam Hondas, anyone who's breaking records out there has one, if not multiple parts from this Bisimoto establishment. So yes, by all means, we still have it. If you're interested in parts, shop away. If there's something you're looking for that's not on there, let us know, and we will oblige. Miss UBC says, Luke, live for physics. By the way, Luke is a great guy. He's right here on YouTube. I love him so much. Talk about creative individuals, especially in the single cam realm. This is someone who I respected for many years, and he's here interacting in our Tech Tuesday. When you did my right-hand drive lab, it's going to blow your mind. When you visit my R&D lab, he said, R&D lab, it's going to blow your mind and improve every EV build you do. Epic organic chemistry skills will get used to. I love it. I need to make time to come and see you. So let's make a plan. Not this week, not the following week, but sometime latter part of February, let's have a blast and get together and make things happen. BC, where's your Hot Wheel van at? Right here. I'm gonna do something very unorthodox here. And I'm gonna turn this around, guys. There it is right there. Next to the new Odyssey is the old Odyssey. So it is here at the Bisimoto facility. And that little wing you saw is for the EP9. We did some crazy stuff. Jonathan just installed a couple of charge ports, one for one for CCS2 and the other one to be able to charge or maintain or trickle charge the onboard battery, the small 12-volt battery. And for those of you who don't know, yes, EVs have low voltage batteries as well. Even though you use everything from, 120 to 400 to 800 to 1200, even 750, 800 architecture for high voltage on EV cars. Your electronics, everything from water pumps to screens, all those things are still 12 to 14 volt systems. So to initiate contactors, which is just a very clever way of saying relays, to initiate things to happen and for junctions to close and for your screens to work and lights to be proper, you still need a 12 volt system. So the EP9 we're working on right now, where you just saw the wing in a moment, that particular vehicle, we added a port that allows you to trickle charge if it's going to sit for a long time and just maintain it with a small inverter. Like you may see some things from our good friends at Anti-Gravity. I guess another popular one would be battery tender, so a tender. There's another one from, I'm drawing a blank on this other company that's quite nice, but there are quite a few opportunities. So when this is sitting for any period of time and you don't want the small 12-volt battery to go flat, we have a port that Jonathan just put on that allows you to plug in and leave it at rest without qualm. And the good thing is that electric cars don't have starters, so there's no high amp opportunity to discharge a vehicle, so you don't need something with very high code counting amps. Something even this small, like a motorcycle, very small anti-gravity batteries, enough to power the systems. And we have an additional advantage on all our petrol and EV cars. If your battery ever goes flat for any reason, there is something known as the, restart setup. So you press a little button for restart. There's a remote control for it or on the battery itself. and it acts as an internal jumper. It's so cool. So I love the guys from Magic Writing. Their stuff is quite nice indeed. Did you build a gas-powered poster slant nose? I saw one like it, but it wasn't electric. Says, how do you say your name? Skryla? I think, hopefully I didn't destroy your name here. Yes. In the Bisimoto arsenal, we have a blue M916. I'm sorry, blue M16 935. The blue M16 is kind of America's answer to the K3, has dual headlights and all that fun stuff. It's a twin turbo in blue. We also have a silver one, speaking of action clutch, that's right there in the showroom. That's a twin turbo air-cooled setup as well. And then if you had any opportunity to visit SEMA or see some of the content coming out of SEMA of 2025, you'll notice that we have a white Kremer K3 935 with a beautiful blue, red, and dark blue, red, and kind of white martini livery. And that one is also a twin turbo petrol as well. What is different between all those cars and the standard twin turbo 935 you may see out and about at the racetrack or in the museums? Our 935 petrol cars are chock full of tons of modern technology. So something you'll see in a modern 911 is in there. For example, no Motronic pseudo mechanical injection. We have fully sequential standalone opportunities. Harnesses are all mil spec, and we really use drive-by-wire significantly. Drive-by-wire allows us to eliminate an idle control valve, which can be the opportunity for failure or boost leaking. It also allows us to use electronics to adjust the throttle plate. So if you want to have impeccable traction control, instead of using ignition cut or fuel cut, which is very hard to recover from, the ECUs we use, both on the AEM side and the link side, allows you to actuate very quickly the throttle plate. You also have impeccable opportunities for immaculate idle control as well. And things are much simpler as well. You don't have a crazy cables running through the entire length of your car. If I can do a drive-by-wire clutch, I would totally do it. So that being said, those cars have modern technology, drive-by-wire, full sequential injection, flex fuel, CAN bus, all that fun stuff. So yeah, you get it in the cars, they drive impeccably well because I have the opportunity to tune on something like this Dynapack, which allows me to have amazing hydraulic control of the engines. And what I mean by that, with this dyno, you can lock 2,000 RPMs, be able to initiate the driving opportunity in any gear you want, and you can vary the throttle and it'll keep the vehicle at 2,000 RPMs rolling. And by doing that, you also have the opportunity to tune every cell in that 2,000 RPM realm. Then you can do that also with 2,500 and 3,000 and 3,500. You know, it's pretty crazy indeed. King Koopa EG said drive-by-wire is also good for boost control. I've seen, yes, not only to allow you to do wonderful things, but do you know some people use electronic drive-by-wire setups for wastegate control or even control of their blow-off or the intake pressure? You can see many of those wonderful opportunities with TurboSmart. In essence, you can have this kind of electronic valve that you can put on your wastegate, or better yet, on the intake side. And what happens is if you're about to launch, you can build all this boost and you can like let it off and kind of keep a constant boost threshold when you're about to launch. And then once you take off, it closes completely and you have full boost. Just so much. Don't you love technology? It's so amazing indeed, you know? Man, this car culture is so cool, says Project EH9 Racing. Thank you so much. And by the way, guys, if you haven't followed the Bisimoto YouTube page, please explore. The team and I are going to be chock full of content this year and moving forward. A lot of our content is going to be on the YouTube as well. A lot of long form stuff that I'm not allowed to do on TikTok or Instagram or even in, you know, X. But on YouTube, I'm allowed to do that. So it's pretty cool indeed. Pretty cool indeed. I'm missing some good stuff here. I'm so sorry, guys. Sorry. Okay, beautiful. Have you seen the electric turbo with RC motor? So if you're talking about those opportunities where they use, instead of like a car like here behind me, where you use exhaust gases to turn a turbine that's directly cogged to a compressor wheel that then pushes air in the engine, keeping in mind that the way to make power is to get as much air into the engine with appropriate amount of fuel and timing. Instead of using exhaust gases that is already being used and waste the atmosphere through noise and radiation and heat, electric turbochargers have the opportunity to turn like a pump. Some OEMs use it, some aftermarket people, individuals use that as well. And what it does, it prevents any parasitic losses that can occur which you may see with superchargers with a belt that's directly caught to the crankcase or the crankshaft. Or a turbocharger, which even though we're using wasted exhaust gases and heat and radiation to turn a turbine, it still poses a restriction. You're still putting a wheel in front of your exhaust gases, which exhaust wants to get out of your engine to be able to free flow and allow for more efficiency and breathability and make more power. You now eliminate that and have a free-flowing exhaust using electricity through a high amperage, in many cases, high amperage alternator to drive it, to push compressed air. And another cool thing about that is, when designed properly, electric turbochargers don't have lag. Because unlike a car like this, where you kind of have to rev it up and build boost north of, I guess what I'm looking there, about 4,000 RPMs to start ramping up boost quite nicely, when before it was like 7,000 RPM. God, much better curve now. I'm just looking back there. Much better curve. An electronic supercharger can spool up when you're sitting still at rest without even revving. It's crazy. So yes, to be honest with you, I love it. This is the guy who built the Odyssey. Yes, I am, Mr. Sunshades. Absolutely. Civic Wagon update, says Cam Morton. Yes, I talked about that a little bit earlier. I'm going to make a big announcement within a week or two where even you, sir, can get access to that car for very little input. How do you feel about meth injection? Porsche runs meth from factory. Meth injection? Now, I've heard that term used in so many ways, but I'm going to go with the most popular meth injection, which is water-methanol. Now, for those of you who don't know what water-methanol injection is, this is a concept that came to light because of World War II. Many countries, including Germany, yes, had a hard time with proper fuel during the World War. And to be able to keep octane high with not so great fuel, they would inject water into the engines of the planes to allow for anti-knock properties. Fast forward today, whether it's a boosted internal combustion engine or a diesel, it's very popular, we have a combination of, ideally, 50% deionized water, 50% lab-grade methanol combined together. The methanol does a great job in not only cooling the intake charge even nicer, but also helps with some anti-knock property. Now you'll say, if methanol is so great, why not use 100% methanol? Well, because it's easily flammable. It can catch on fire, and guess what? You barely see it. You may see a slight hint of a blue flame, but it can really burn up very easily and catch on fire and cause problems. You just see things melting in your engine base. So by adding 50% of deionized water, it gives the opportunity to make it not only an opportunity for it to put away hygroscopic nature of the methanol, which means it won't absorb atmospheric water anyway. It gives the opportunity to be able to make it not as flammable or not flammable at all, while giving all the benefits of the anti-knock agents that methanol can provide. What I tend to do for many customers is either have a single nozzle appropriately sized in the intake tract, ideally facing away from the throttle body, so when it squirts in and air blasts it, it helps keep everything in suspension and atomized so it'll be an easier burn. Or you can do direct injection, just like you would with nitrous, where each runner of it setup has smaller and smaller jets and nozzles to be able to feed that as well. Can you believe that with the Bisimoto first wagon, the D-Series wagon, we made 724 horsepower with water methanol alone mixed with 91 octane, and it was great. When I started pushing the boost a lot, I saw a little bit of specking, but it was still okay. And then on my Porsche, the IROC Porsche, that made 850 horsepower, same thing. 2 nozzles near the throttle body, about 6 inches away from the throttle body, pointing the opposite direction from the throttle body to help keep in suspension. And that thing made 800 horsepower on a Porsche. So to answer your question, yes. Not that Porsches come with them stock, it's a good addition, especially if you don't have access to great fuel, or you don't have access to E85, or you just don't want to run flex fuel. It's great, and I love using the AEM controllers. Diesels, by the way, love them. Here's something else I did. I'm gonna tell you guys about a crazy experiment I did. This is crazy. Crazy experiment. Here, Jonathan's right there walking by. He's gonna, like, are you really crazy enough to do this? Are you familiar with turbocharger maps compressor maps. That is a map. Think of it as I would say almost a dyno of your turbocharger. And it shows how efficient your turbo can be, how much power it can make, how much air it pushes within a certain boost threshold. So will it be efficient at 20 PSI, 100 PSI, 50 PSI, 20 PSI? And all that is very important in selecting a turbo. However, here's a trick. God, I love sharing this kind of information. You can make a smaller turbo behave like a larger turbo if you cool down the intake charge significantly before the turbo itself. Water methanol is one way to do it. So I literally had a nozzle, another nozzle pointed to the intake track of my turbo, shooting right in on the wagon. My wagon made more power, behaved like a bigger turbo without the lag associated with it. The only reason why I didn't leave it on there indefinitely is the water methanol was a bit erosive to the blades of the turbo. So after a while, water is a crazy erosion agent. It started eating up my turbo wheels like crazy. It was quite sad. Anyway, that's my little tidbit for you on being able to use water methanol, not only as a way to cool intake charge and create a lot more power without the knock that you may see with a lower octane fuel, but also the ability to make turbos more efficient by injecting into the front of the turbo. What could I have done in retrospect to be able to make my turbine blades last? Maybe by ceramic coating them properly with an anti-corrosive agent, like hard anodizing, something like that. That probably would have done a great job in preventing erosion of my wheel, but it was a cool experiment nonetheless, you know? All right, well guys, I'm sorry that I do have to fly. The team is so absolutely going crazy over here, so I got a lot more wiring and programming to do. They have a lot more fabrication to do. They've been very kind not to make a ton of noise while I'm interacting with all of you. But I really want to thank you for participating and joining on this particular Tech Tuesday. Thank you so much, Action Clutch, once again, for trusting our tuning and building and fabrication services, which are lovely, well-regarded Civic. In the meantime, guys, have a pleasant afternoon. Thank you so much, Mark, very good friend, for joining. I look forward to being out there with you at SEMA this year as well. And we'll talk soon. Same time, same channel next week. Take care, everyone. Cheers. Bye-bye.